In this video, we'll be taking a look at 3 college basketball games happening on March 24th, 2025, and providing you with free team picks and total picks for each one of those games, so 6 picks in total. Welcome back to Cash Out Sports. Let's dive right into it. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe and to click the bell icon to get notified as soon as these videos get released, so that you have more time to plan out your bets as we provide these videos on a daily basis. I can guarantee that you'll have all the important information that you'll need on these 3 college basketball games after fully watching this video. One more thing before we start. If you would like to gain access to our best exclusive sports picks to take your journey to the next level, then check out our Patreon in the link down below, where we offer our best single picks, parlay picks, and much more. Now let's get started. Incarnate Word versus Jacksonville. The Incarnate Word Cardinals, sporting an 18-16 record, are set to face off against the Jacksonville Dolphins, who finished the regular season at 19-13. This quarterfinal showdown in the CBI tournament will take place on Monday afternoon. The Cardinals earned their spot in this game by taking down Manhattan in a high-scoring affair, winning 92-85 as 2.5-point favorites. Meanwhile, Jacksonville did not have to play in the opening round, as they received a bye and will be making their first appearance in the tournament with this matchup. While Jacksonville might have the benefit of extra rest, that does not necessarily translate into an advantage. In tournament play, momentum is just as crucial as fresh legs, if not more so. Incarnate Word comes in riding the high of a strong offensive performance, while Jacksonville has not played a competitive game in 18 days. The last time the Dolphins took the floor, they struggled to generate offense, managing only 23 points in the first half against North Alabama and ultimately falling by 15 points. Scoring has been an issue for Jacksonville all season, as they have only one player averaging double-digit points per game, and their offense ranks a lowly 260th in efficiency. On the other hand, Incarnate Word is fresh off a win in which 4 of their players scored 17 or more points, showing their ability to distribute the ball and find the hot hand. The Cardinals also boast the best shooter on the floor in Bailey, who has drained 117 three-pointers this season. By comparison, no player on Jacksonville's roster has hit more than 60 from beyond the arc. While Jacksonville may have put together a better overall season, it is fair to question their motivation coming into this game. They have been sitting idle for nearly 3 weeks and now must wake up early to play a noon game in Daytona. That is not the easiest situation to step into, and there is a strong possibility that rust and sluggish play will be major factors. Incarnate Word, by contrast, comes in battle-tested, having played the previous day and looking sharp in their win over Manhattan. The Cardinals were on fire offensively, pouring in 92 points while shooting an impressive 56% from the field. Given the circumstances, Incarnate Word has a real chance to pull off the upset. As our first pick for this matchup, the Incarnate Word Cardinals to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. While Incarnate Word's offense looked strong in the first round, they now face a much tougher challenge against Jacksonville's defense. The quick turnaround presents a challenge, as the Cardinals played Sunday and must now adjust to an early tip-off the following day. Fatigue will likely be an issue, forcing them to dig deeper into their bench to distribute minutes. Additionally, Incarnate Word does not play at a particularly fast pace, ranking just 326th in tempo nationally. They will need to be patient and work hard to create scoring opportunities against Jacksonville's stingy defense, which ranks 101st in efficiency and is by far the strongest unit in this game. The Dolphins lean heavily on their defense to keep them in games, as they lack offensive firepower outside of McCray, their lone consistent scorer. Jacksonville's games have tended to be low scoring, with 4 of their last 6 regular season matchups finishing under the total. The lack of recent game action for Jacksonville could also mean their offensive rhythm is out of sync, making it even tougher for them to put points on the board. Neither of these teams likes to push the pace, as Jacksonville ranks 179th in possessions per game with 70.3, while Incarnate Word is even slower at 335th, averaging just 66.9 possessions. With both teams favoring a more methodical style and Jacksonville relying so much on their defense, a high-scoring affair seems unlikely. The under has hit frequently for both squads this season, with a 16-13-1 record for Incarnate Word and a 15-14-1 mark for Jacksonville. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. Army versus Florida Gulf Coast University. The Army Black Knights and the Florida Gulf Coast University Eagles are set to battle it out in the quarterfinals of the CBI tournament, with the Ocean Center in Daytona Beach, Florida serving as the stage for their showdown. This marks a significant moment in both programs' histories, as they have never crossed paths before. Army wrapped up their season by securing third place in the Patriot League, finishing with a conference record of 10-8. And an overall season record of 16-15. Meanwhile, Florida Gulf Coast University also landed in third place within the Atlantic Sun Conference, boasting a slightly better conference record of 13-5 and a season record of 18-14. Now, both teams are aiming to push deeper into the tournament, but only one can move forward. Throughout the regular season, Florida Gulf Coast University showcased an efficient shooting performance, hitting 47.1% of their shots from the field, which ranked them 61st in the nation. From beyond the arc, they managed a respectable 35.5%, placing them 94th. On defense, they held opponents to an average of 70 points per game while allowing them to shoot 42.8% from the field and 35.1% from three-point range. Army, on the other hand, struggled in some key defensive areas, surrendering an average of 75 points per game during the regular season. In their first-round victory over Elan, they gave up 78 points but managed to put up 83 themselves. However, over the course of the season, Army's offensive numbers were less impressive, averaging just 73 points per game on an efficient shooting percentages, 44.1% from the field and a dismal 31.4% from three-point range. If the Black Knights fail to shoot at a higher clip, Florida Gulf Coast University's superior accuracy could put them in a hole they won't be able to climb out of, while Army managed to cover the spread as an underdog in their opening round win. Their recent track record against the spread is concerning, having covered just once in their last 5 games. Another potential obstacle for Army is their rest disadvantage. The Black Knights have struggled in situations where they're forced to play without adequate recovery time, posting a 2-6 record when coming into a game with less rest than their opponent. That's precisely the scenario they face here, as they are playing on back-to-back nights while Florida Gulf Coast University has been off since March 3rd, when they were eliminated from their conference tournament. This extended break gives the Eagles a considerable edge in terms of rest and recovery, adding to the defensive advantage they already hold. If Army hopes to counter this, they will need to capitalize on any weakness in Florida Gulf Coast University's game, and the Eagles do have one notable flaw: their perimeter defense. Florida Gulf Coast University has struggled to contain opponents from beyond the arc, but unfortunately for Army, outside shooting has been a weak point for them all season. If they can't find a way to exploit that vulnerability, they could find themselves completely stifled by Florida Gulf Coast University's interior defense. I'm generally not a fan of backing a team that has been sitting idle for too long, and Florida Gulf Coast University hasn't played in 3 weeks. That's a long layoff, and there's always the question of how sharp they'll be and what their motivation level will look like. However, despite that concern, I still have a hard time trusting Army. The Black Knights ended the regular season on a rough note, and while their win over Elan was solid, it's not enough to erase the inconsistencies they've displayed. Even with the layoff, Florida Gulf Coast University remains a better offensive unit, ranking within the top 100 in both field goal percentage and three-point shooting. Additionally, this is essentially a home game for them, as Daytona Beach is only about a 4-hour drive from their campus. While it's uncertain how many Florida Gulf Coast University fans will make the trip, any crowd presence will likely be in their favor. The odds makers have set a sizable line in favor of the Eagles, and that alone speaks volumes about how they view this matchup. I'm inclined to agree with them. As our first pick for this matchup, the Florida Gulf Coast Eagles to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. Looking at the total points projection, recent trends favor a lower scoring outcome. The under has hit in each of Florida Gulf Coast University's last 2 games and in 6 of their last 9. A big reason for that is the tempo at which they play. According to Ken Palm, Florida Gulf Coast University has an adjusted tempo of 65.3, ranking 293rd in the nation. Army plays at a slightly faster pace with an adjusted tempo of 67.7, which ranks them 156th. When you combine these two numbers, they suggest a game that is more likely to lean towards the lower end of the scoring spectrum. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. Queens University of Charlotte versus Cleveland State. The Queens Royals will be facing off against the Cleveland State Vikings in the quarterfinals of the CBI tournament on Monday night. The Royals earned a solid victory against Northern Arizona in their opening round of the tournament, showing some strong play. Meanwhile, Cleveland State fell short in the semifinals of their conference tournament but benefited from a bye in the first round of the CBI, giving them some extra rest and preparation time. Looking at the KenPom net ratings, there's a noticeable difference in the overall performance of these two teams throughout the season. Queens sits at 205th in the country with a minus 3.44 net rating, while Cleveland State is ranked 165th with a much closer to neutral net rating of minus 0.05. When it comes to defensive play, the gap is even wider. Cleveland State boasts a solid defensive rating of 104, ranking them 114th in the nation, whereas Queens struggles on defense, sitting at 235th overall with a much higher 109.7 defensive rating. These numbers suggest that Cleveland State's defense is a clear strength going into this matchup. Cleveland State is considered one of the top teams in the CBI tournament, and they certainly have the potential to win the championship. With a strong 21-12 record and a solid showing in the Horizon League, they're one of the favorites to come out on top. The Vikings' defense stands out as their most significant advantage in this matchup. While Queens is allowing a troubling 110 points per 100 possessions, Cleveland State only gives up 104 points per 100 possessions, showcasing their superior defensive play. The Royals have been on a solid run, but they've been competing in a relatively weaker conference and don't necessarily excel in any particular aspect of the game. In contrast, Cleveland State has been dominating, winning 8 of their last 10 games by a margin of 8 points or more. Queens may have secured a notable win over Northern Arizona in their CBI opener on Sunday, but they've struggled to win consecutive games recently. On the other hand, Cleveland State lost a narrow contest in the Horizon League tournament and comes into this game well rested, having had a bye on Sunday. The Vikings' defensive advantage will likely be a deciding factor, as Queens is allowing more than 73 points per game. Cleveland State, on the other hand, has held opponents to 63 points or fewer in 3 straight games, and they also have a slight edge in shooting efficiency. As our first pick for this matchup, we're picking the Cleveland State Vikings to win and cover the spread as favorites, which is our full game side pick. The offensive numbers for both teams don't paint an exciting picture for a high-scoring game. Cleveland State ranks 223rd in the nation with a 103.9 offensive rating, while Queens is just ahead at 188th with a 106.3 offensive rating. Over their past 3 games, both teams have been playing a methodical style, with Queens averaging 67.1 possessions per game and Cleveland State a slightly lower 64.8 possessions per game. This suggests a slower-paced game that might not lend itself to high-scoring action. This will also be the first time these two teams have ever met, so there's no prior head-to-head history to draw from. Queens' offense looked impressive in their win over Northern Arizona as they scored a solid 85 points, but this game is going to be a much tougher test. Cleveland State brings the best defense in the tournament, which will make it difficult for the Royals to find the same kind of success on offense. Additionally, the Vikings have an 11-19 record against the over-under this season and are just 3-7 over-under in their last 10 games. As our second pick for this matchup, we recommend taking the under on the projected total, which is our full game total pick. That's all for now, so if you have any other games you would like reviewed, then leave a comment down below with the game you would like analyzed. Subscribe to our channel, leave a like on this video, and we'll get to it as soon as we possibly can. We would also love to hear your opinion on the picks presented to you in this video, whether you agree or disagree with them, so leave a comment down below and do let us know.